Hi, my name is Michaela Omido, and this is my cognitive behavioral therapy 15-minute video starring my mother as my client. Thank you. Hi, Denise. It's very nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Okay, that's really good. My name is Michaela, and I'm really looking forward to working with you today. Okay. This is our first session, so ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to get to know each other a little bit and just kind of get a little bit more comfortable with one another so that we can start talking about what you ultimately came here for. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So before we dive in, I want to let you know what to expect in our sessions and what they will typically look like. My role is to support you in addressing any challenges or goals that you want to address while you are here. And ultimately, I'll be here to guide that process with you, and it will be a partnership between us. We'll work on talking about what's going on in your life, and together we'll find strategies that fit right with you, okay? During our sessions, I'll be using a form of therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short. Have you heard of this before?
The term, yes.
Okay, so you're aware of what I'll be going over and how we'll be addressing your emotions, behaviors, and thoughts, and the connection between them?
Okay.
Okay, all right. So I'm just gonna throw out an example, just so that we're on the same page. If you notice that there is a certain thought that makes you feel anxious or upset, cognitive behavioral therapy, what we'll be doing is will help us to address and explore those thoughts and find ways to challenge or ultimately to change them. And by doing that, we can often change how we feel and work through that whole process.
Okay.
Step by step. And again, we'll be working together to identify these patterns and develop strategies that make you feel more in control of your emotions and the responses. Okay. Lastly, I want to assure you that everything we talk about here is confidential. There are only a few exceptions to that I must follow. As a social worker, I am obligated to report any form of child, animal, or elder abuse, or the harming of a handicapped individual as well. If I feel that you are in danger of seriously or fatally harming yourself or others, I am also required to inform law enforcement with that. I want to be clear and pretty much put out there that suicidal and homicidal thoughts and feelings are natural to the human experience, and I'm not required to report you if you talk or think or even just express your emotions on the topic of death. I want to encourage you to speak freely, openly, and honestly. And if you're wanting to tell me something that you're not sure if confidentiality covers that, you just let me know and we'll talk more about it. Does that sound all right?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, Denise. So tell me a little bit about what brings you here today.
So I wanted to just kind of like grasp my feelings on what I consider being inequality to what actually is inequality, and it's mostly in the workplace, because
Okay.
where I work, I feel like it's this is my feeling that there's just a lot of inequality happening. Not in regards to, well, maybe it could be in regards to race, but more in regards to workload. Yeah. And responsibilities and things like that. I feel frustrated. I feel as if, even though I address these things with my supervisor, even in certain times her supervisor, that I feel like it's been a brush off.
Okay.
So it's the frustrations and, is it more me rather than is it an actual problem?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I definitely hear that you are frustrated, and ultimately from what you were saying, I was hearing a lot that you feel that you're not being heard, and there could be potentially a whole bunch of different reasons as to why you might not be being heard, and that's what's ultimately frustrating you. Does that sound correct a little bit?
A little bit along those lines.
Help me clarify that a little bit more. So I guess help me get to where you're at a little bit.
So my work, I'll be honest, my workload is mostly patient-based. So I'm around patients throughout the day. And I love that part. My least part is having to do phone conversations and things. It gets done, obviously, but it's not my favorite part. And at times, I have multiple things to do at work, the least being phones.
Okay.
In regards to responsibility on that day. And I find myself feeling like I've done all of my responsibilities of the day, and at the end of the day, I've still done more phone calls than the other staff who all they had to do was phone calls. They didn't have other job tasks to do that day.
Yeah.
So how is it that I get all this responsibility to accomplish? I know that there are call volumes coming in, and I go ahead to assist them so that their workload, isn't as heavy. And when at the end of the day, because you can tell I'm still doing more than the people that was their responsibility. Okay. So I'm like, the inequality in workload, how is it that I can do my job and then some? And
yeah. Okay, so I hear that. I hear a little more of that, and thank you for sharing that. I want to dive into something a little deeper, and I know something that you had mentioned, your frustration. We see that, we hear that a little bit. So just kind of to gauge where you're at with this whole situation, I'm just going to do a quick mood check so that I understand a little bit more, or a little deeper into your feelings. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being more on the negative side and 10 being on the positive side, where would you say your thoughts and emotions fit into those numbers?
3 to 4.
Okay. So pretty low. Okay. All right. So throughout this time and throughout our time together, in a general sense, what we'll be working on a little bit is to kind of see if we can find a way to heighten those numbers and see what we can do to gauge and seek that higher number. Is that okay with you so far?
That sounds good.
Okay. So going back to it, feeling frustrated. You have a lot of tasks. You feel like you're taking on a lot of responsibility and a bigger portion of the job, right? Yeah.
Correct.
I hear that this is a stressful thing for you to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I want to dive into that stress a little bit. But before I dive into that stress, I want to just kind of ask, do you have a good support system at home?
At home?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have a very good support system.
Okay. Do you mind sharing with me your support system?
Yeah. My support system is my husband.
Okay. So you have a husband. I'm going to take some notes. And
Okay.
I'm just going to write down some names and stuff. Okay. So you have a husband. What's your husband's name?
Miguel.
All right. And how has Miguel helped you?
He's very passive, very relaxed. So when I'm like super upset, he kind of like, just in talking to him, he's just very chill. He kind of brings everything down.
Yeah.
And he always tells me, you don't have to do it. So that kind of makes me kind of like, I know I have to do it,
Yeah.
but thanks for giving me that out.
Yeah.
So that's helpful.
Okay. Okay. Who else would you say you have in your support system?
He's probably my biggest support system.
Okay.
I'll talk to my sister from time to time. I'll talk to my brother from time to time. But yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. I love to hear that you have those people that you can go to,
Mhm.
especially when you're experiencing those stressful days.
Right.
You know, that's really good. So I want to dive into your stress a little bit more. When would you say that your stress kind of started? Has this been pretty consistent, or has this become recent?
So I want to say that my job is stressful, but it was always manageable.
Okay.
I think that the stress level actually increased when my company merged with another company. So we had two different offices actually merged to become one.
Okay.
And that seemed to have, at that point in time, I think that seemed to have started like the stress level.
Okay.
We had two different offices, and in having two different offices, you had two different work ethics, work styles. Okay. But we were both doing the same exact job, just in two different offices again, but it was just literally maybe half a mile from each other. That's how close the two offices were.
Okay.
So,
okay.
and I want to say that was about almost 5 years ago.
Wow.
Maybe, 5 years ago, actually.
Okay, so the stress has
been an ongoing issue.
Okay,
Yeah,
for quite
it's just
some
like
time.
yeah.
Okay, and that's okay. That's okay. We're gonna find a way to manage it. Okay. So, is work the only stressor that you feel, or do you feel that work is your biggest stressor?
Is the biggest stressor.
Okay. Is there any additional stressors that you may feel or may have? Anything at home or with friends or with family?
The biggest stressor that you'll find stressors throughout all areas of your life, and all different, but for me, those are manageable. You kind of like, I feel like the one that upsets me or consumes me the most would be my work stress.
Okay. Okay, so you're feeling the most stressed at work. I'm going to kind of redirect our stressors to a more lighthearted kind of direction.
Okay.
And I'm going to go back to that husband you were speaking about, this individual that is a very positive person in your life and a very helpful man.
Yep.
Yeah. And I want to dive into your support system because you also mentioned your brother and your sister, and I just want to hear a little bit maybe about your family and where that support system, I guess, originated, and tell me a little bit about those in your inner circle that you feel the most comfort and support from.
So my biggest support is, like I said, my husband.
Okay.
And I met him over 30 years ago at school. And he's funny and lighthearted, soft-spoken, and he's just a great support. And I'm very lucky. Yeah, I'm very lucky that way. Blessed is actually the word, not lucky. Blessed.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I like to see that. Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I have a brother and a sister,
Okay.
both younger than me.
Okay.
And you have questions about them, or?
Yeah, I mean, you can talk to me about them, but you can also share with me about or you can share with me whatever you feel comfortable sharing with me. If you want to talk to me about them and their families, you definitely can.
Okay.
And just whoever makes you feel the most comfortable.
Okay.
Your support system.
Okay. So my support system, like I said, is my husband.
Yes.
My major support system. I have a sister. She is the kindest, sweetest, most giving person I know. And then I have a brother, again, both younger than me, and he's more of a listener, but he's ready to fight my battles for me, so he's more of an aggressor.
That's a good balance to have a very
exactly.
Okay, yeah.
But I guess, we're just a combination of who our parents were.
Yeah.
So
share with me a little bit about your parents, if you feel comfortable doing that.
Sure. So my mom and my dad, they were together for almost 25. They were together for about 25 years before my mom passed away. Thank you. And then I had my dad. So my mom was also that always smiling, the biggest smile ever, more positive, very family oriented, very caring and concerning. And then my dad was the breadwinner, and he was more of the, okay, we've got to get this done, and so yeah, and he was a bright spot, also very positive, also very optimistic, but very stern in his ways,
Okay.
And so those are my parents.
Okay. So I heard that you spoke about your mom being very family oriented. Did she also grow up in a big family like yours?
Oh, so if you find that 3 children is big, you're going to be surprised. So my mom was one of 9 children.
Okay. One of 9.
Yeah.
All right.
She is one of 3 females.
Okay.
And she had 6 brothers.
Okay. Wow. That must have been an experience.
Which is funny because my dad is one of 6.
So you must have a huge family.
So I have a lot of family, yes.
Okay.
So, and he was one of 5 brothers. He only had one sister.
Oh, goodness.
So, yeah.
Oh, poor her.
Poor her. Poor my grandparents.
So were your grandparents also, maybe not similar to your parents, but was it more of were they connected? Were they all, was it a very
So yeah, they were held together in the sense of were they tight knit as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty tight knit. What I can remember of my grandparents on my mom's side, my grandmother, super shy, super shy, and my grandfather, he was like the spotlight, spotlight was always on him. He was very friendly. He knew everybody in town.
Yeah.
The life of the party.
Yeah.
He loved to dance. He loved to play dominoes. He was just, he would go out with his friends, and he was like the party. While my grandmother, she was more of the home, chill, make sure everything was kind of, and she had,
Yeah.
she was busy.
I see the balance. I see that from generation to generation.
Yeah,
it looks like a little bit of a balance.
And then on my dad's side of the family, my grandmother was the hard worker. She had a job outside of the home. And then my grandfather, he was the stern disciplinarian, very, I do know that he did work at one time, but me growing up, I remember my grandmother working, and so the memory of my grandfather going out to work, I don't have much of that. She was very busy and very fast.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Would you say that, I'm going to bring it back a little bit, but From what I'm hearing about your grandma, you guys have some similarities.
Yeah, maybe. I actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember growing up, uh, they would compare me and my grandmother, not in a physical way, but in the way we did things. Like,
Okay.
you gave us a task and we focused on it and hurry up. And I was like, oh, well, if grandma could do it fast, obviously I could do it fast. So it was almost like a competition that I had with myself.
Yeah.
My grandma could do it. So yeah, I would say yes.
That's awesome, though. I mean, it brought you to where you are, which is a hard worker. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So I'm going to go back a little bit, just real quick. I wasn't able to get the names of your parents.
Oh, okay.
Can I get your mom's name?
Sure. Audia.
Yeah. Okay. And your father's name?
Julio.
And your mom's name?
Maria.
And your mom's dad's name?
Cecilio.
Can you spell that for me?
Cecilio.
Oh, okay. We're going to move on to your dad's mom.
Ernesta.
And your dad's dad.
Confesor.
Okay. I think I spelled this right, but I'm going to show you this genogram, and you're going to tell me if this is correct. So on this first layer, we have you and your siblings, and you guys were brought together by your parents. And then we also have your parents, and they were brought, with your grandparents, and we just kind of have this diagram of this big family you have. We didn't even get to dive into the 9 siblings your mom, 9 siblings,
Nine.
9 siblings your mom had, and the 6 your father had.
Well, 8 siblings. She was with her was 9,
8.
right? 8
Okay.
siblings.
Thank you
and
you.
And then my dad was 6. He was one of 6, so
You
5
can
siblings.
definitely go into that if you want to, but we have this here.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. So do you see this diagram right here?
Mhm.
And it doesn't have maybe a lot of names.
Mhm.
But when you look at this list of individuals, what's one word that comes to mind?
Happy.
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 Let's dive into that a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so happy. What makes you say happy?
Happy. There were a lot of positive things. Like, my mom was a happy person. Her dad was a happy person. So they brought like that happiness, that kind of like, yeah.
And so overall, when you think about family, and even when you get to spend time with family, you feel happy.
Happy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
To celebrate, it's like a celebration. Let's find any excuse to celebrate it.
Okay. That's amazing. I think that is something that maybe we can navigate, or forgive me. What I think is when we have hard times, such as our stressors, when we have work where we're feeling drained and exhausted, and we feel like we're taking on all of this responsibility and feeling maybe a little less helped, but we come home to something so familiar and welcoming and soft and kind and joyful. How does that weigh out for you?
I feel cheated.
Okay, let's dive into that. How do you feel cheated?
That I am exhausted, wasting all this energy, and I come home exhausted, and the little time that I get to be in my safe place or my comfort or my calming is minimal.
Okay.
So my stress life falls in 8 hours.
Yeah.
And the little time that I have with my family during any given day or during the weekend is limited. So that I feel cheated.
Okay.
That's the word. I feel like, I don't have as that. What brings me joy is not the bigger portion of my day, my long day. And any day I can work from 8 to 10 hours, sometimes 12. So,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the reason why.
Understandably so. So I hear that. I hear that you feel a little, you want to spend more time with
The happy part of
the
my
happy
life.
portion. Yes.
Mhm.
How do we think you can get there at some point? In a constructive way, or even just throw some ideas. Like, what? How do
So
you think? How do you
you
think
see,
you can get there?
I get blocked when we talk about, how am I gonna get there? Because sometimes I can't see past that. But my always cheerleader there, he'll always tell me, my husband will tell me, "Oh, why don't you cut down on your hours?" And or look ahead, maybe in a couple of years you won't have to. Or he even tells me, you know what, you can go ahead, you don't have to be there. But again, I think I'm stuck with the responsibility of, I know, like, okay, I got through today, maybe tomorrow it'll be better, so I keep going. But it's just a daily kind of a
little battle.
a battle.
A little battle. That's okay. I mean, we have our highs and lows, but that's what makes life, And when we get our lows, the highs feel incredible.
Right.
And sometimes when the lows come, it's okay to feel them. I think that that's just part of the whole human experience.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you're getting a lot of that. But it's also really important to grasp onto the more welcoming parts of life. And I hear that. I hear that that's something that you're interested in, but you're also kind of not necessarily fighting, but you're also kind of pushing yourself a little bit. Do you see that as well?
I do.
Okay. So how can we fix that? How can we take a little pressure off and add a little bit more contentment, do you think? Even if it's just a little step, what does that look like? Maybe
Probably decrease.
Or something like that. Is that
Decreasing hours.
Okay.
Decreasing the workload. If I'm not there, it'll be less,
Is that something that you're interested in doing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or sometimes I feel like, well, if I don't keep myself in that situation, maybe I need a change.
Okay.
That's another option.
Yeah.
But then after, doing it for so long, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I've seen that in many situations throughout my life. So maybe it's fear of the not knowing or the not. And so,
Okay.
but those are different thoughts that kind of like.
What's your ideal? I know you're saying that the grass might not always be greener, but even though, forgive me, you're saying that the grass might not always be greener, but you're also limiting yourself to the potential change, is what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing.
But it's
Because who
fear.
knows if it's going to be better? Who knows if it's going to be worse?
Exactly. I don't know. And it's the fear of taking that risk.
Yeah. And do you feel, how would you kind of navigate that feeling? Are you more of, I know you're saying mainly that you're fearful and don't want to make that jump, but is there any parts in life or anything that kind of pushes you a little bit more that's like, maybe I should make that change, maybe I should kind of go a different direction? Is there any inkling to do that more than you would at another point in time of your life? Maybe
I think maybe
like
my baby.
Your baby. Okay, who's your baby?
I have a grandson.
Your grandson.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he's a little bit of a motivator to get you to make that change. Okay.
Stay home. Take care of him.
Okay.
I think that the best times of my life was raising my kids and giving them, watching them grow and watching them learn and watching. So to me, that was, and so I feel like, oh yeah, if I can go back a little bit and do that for my grandson, I think, so that kind of pulls me back in the sense of something that I enjoy doing, something that, and it takes me away from the quote unquote work stressors. So
yeah. Okay, so how old is your grandson?
he's 3.
3. Very fun age.
It is.
Okay. And you can keep up with the 3-year-old pace and go crazy and...
Absolutely, till about maybe 11 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, it's nap time because
Nap
I need
time.
that time. He's very busy, very active.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's wonderful to hear, honestly, to hear that you have multiple facets that bring you joy, and your grandson being a huge one as well.
Yes.
So I just kind of want to summarize what we've talked about this far, or up until this point, here together.
Okay.
So from what you're telling me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and please do, the thing that causes you the most stress is work, but the thing that brings you the most joy is family, specifically your husband, your siblings, and your grandson. And is there anything else that I'm missing that you want maybe to add into that kind of area?
Yeah, I think you pretty much got it.
Perfect. Okay. So what is something that you're wanting to work on in talking about everything that we talked about today? What is something that you want to work on in terms of maybe decreasing the stress and increasing the family time, or increasing time with your grandson and being able to do those fun things and take naps? Those are important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what is something that you'd like to work on?
So I think letting go of what upsets me the most. So not feeling that it's an inequality, and kind of like using that feeling in a more positive way.
Okay. How would you do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't actually sat down and tried to break that down.
Okay.
But using that negativeness that I'm feeling into something more positive. I know that probably setting goals, planning trips to be able to see my grandson, okay, I'm working today, but tomorrow I'm going to be, or in a couple of weeks, setting those kind of expectations, in regards to, or, knowing that I'm going to have knowing that after a stressful day, I plan things okay, I'm going to do this today after work. I'm going to go, let's say we're going to a park, or we're going out to eat tonight, or
Self-care.
But again, self-care.
Self-care is important.
Is that what it's called? Self-care?
Self-care.
Self-care, yes. So, kind of but everything can't be, an activity. I love going out to eat. So setting out, a specific day, but who knows when that hard day is going to be. So I can't go out to eat every day. I love to cook.
Okay.
So I feel like that sometimes is a de-stressor as well. So
Okay. So I want to go back to something that you had said about not necessarily even thinking about how to break down, how to let go and look more positively.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk with you about that and see what we can do to kind of navigate that just a little bit, so that we can see some sort of progression maybe in the next few weeks at work, and maybe try to implement a way that we can kind of let go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you just a few questions about when you're the most stressed at work. Do you take a second to just kind of breathe, or do you just kind of push it in the back and keep going?
I kind of push it in the back, because otherwise that work's not going to get done, and I keep going.
Okay.
Keep plugging away.
Okay.
Got to get it done.
Okay.
The faster it gets done, then it's not going to be an issue.
Okay, I understand. what is there time in your day, or do you think you can make time to like center yourself and maybe be like, okay, this happened and this is what I'm going to do moving forward, and kind of just try to break that down a little bit to ground yourself instead of pushing the stress to the back for it to resurface later on?
I think that my kind of personality wouldn't take, if I took the time off to kind of see what caused me to get that frustrated, or that I would, instead of using it in a productive, like, okay, let me see what happened, I'd be like, take more of that time and get more frustrated. Well, almost feel like on the defense, like, oh, well, this should have gotten done and should have. Everything is almost like so I don't want to, I wouldn't take that time, or I wouldn't know how to take that time to decompress rather than get it all out.
Okay, I hear that. Okay, so this is just a sort of maybe idea to how you do things. But we talked about how you enjoy cooking and you enjoy going out to eat and taking a break and maybe visiting your grandson, and also maybe vacations to get that kind of sort of distance from what the workplace kind of brings out. And what I'm hearing you say is that you prefer to kind of push it back because you think, you feel that for it's the best in, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's the in the best interest of those around you in the workplace if you just kept going. Does that sound correct?
That's correct. Okay. Why would I just continue to
why would I stop?
Why would I stop to kind of, I'm delaying the work that needs to get done.
Yeah.
And it isn't like it's going to change the current situation. So let's just get through it.
Yeah.
And then I can
move forward, I guess. In a sense. The only reason why I mentioned those two things, I guess, kind of simultaneously after each other is because those are what bring you the most joy and the little feeling after a stressful day. So if you were to maybe implement some self-care, sort of maybe a bubble bath, maybe reading a book, maybe having a nice meal right after work, right after a stressful day, just catering to yourself or being catered to. Does that sound like something that would ease that stress a little bit?
Fabulous.
That sounds fabulous.
That sounds fabulous.
Maybe a vacation or visiting your grandson.
Absolutely. All of that sounds fabulous.
Okay. So I think what I am wanting to do with you, now that we're getting towards the end of our session, is kind of talk about how we can implement some of these behaviors that we're speaking of here and now, or behaviors, thoughts, and feelings here and now, and implement them not only in here, but in your environment, your work environment, your home environments. So throughout this week, how do you think you will be able to do the self-care? And we're going to write this down because we're going to do write your homework down.
So maybe taking a time out, and it just so happens that my office, there's a supermarket and there's a couple of places to eat close by. Maybe just taking out some time and stepping away, walking throughout the supermarket, and probably plan a meal in my head, kind of. I think I could probably do something like that, or go to one of the restaurants and just pick up something to drink or to munch on, bring it back to the office as Food makes me happy.
Me too. Me too. That's really good.
So, I mean, I guess I can do that, but I mean, I can't do that all the time as it can get costly.
Of course.
But not the planning of the meals. I mean, I guess I can go through the,
You know, you pointed out something that I'm really glad that you were able to get to. And it was, you know, we talked about maybe doing the self-care towards the end of the day, but you have taken it a step forward and chose to maybe potentially do a self-care during the day by stepping away. And I think that that's an incredible step, even in just this first session. Yeah. What other forms of self-care can you see yourself doing a little more frequently, besides maybe going out to eat? And what are some things at home that you'd like to enjoy some more, or enjoy doing more?
At home?
Yeah. A nap.
No, because by the time I get home, it's too late.
Yeah, that's true.
It's too late for a nap. But I do get my naps on the weekends.
Okay. Is there any form of self-care between work and home that you would like to implement more besides the stepping out or time out? That's okay.
I'm not sure.
And that's perfectly fine.
I try to, do something for myself every so often. Like before I went on vacation, I went and I had a manicure, pedicure.
Well, okay.
And that was about a little over a month ago. And then I was able to do it again recently, which was, I like being pampered that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, it can get costly, so I don't do it. I don't do it often.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to do things like that. But what I'm slick about it though, because I'll say, "Oh, Christmas is coming." I can always see, or a birthday's coming, or an anniversary's coming, or a Mother's Day's coming. So there's a couple of occasions that I kind of throw certain hints at that, that may benefit me, or and I say, either that or a gift card to go out to eat, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No,
I think I'm quite vocal.
That is very good. I am so glad to hear that and see that, honestly. No, that's good, because it wasn't that we were, focusing on you not doing the self-care, because you are doing the self-care, and that's really important. That's, I think, personally, it's vital to the human experience. We can't just burn ourselves out and run ourselves out until, it's really important to just take time aside for ourselves. Even taking a step back away from the work environment, and even if we need a moment to ourselves, truly, it's okay to sit back and really just kind of soak in that peace and quiet. And also, it's also very important to take care of yourself in terms of doing what you like getting pampered and taking yourself out to eat and taking that time away. And I think that you express that, and you've been doing that in a very healthy and positive way. And I hope that, when we see each other a little more frequently, I continue to hear about the
experiences.
The experiences, correct? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to, our time is running out a little bit, so I'm going to end the session here, but I do want to talk with you about some homework. I think that for our next session, if you were able to maybe write down a work experience that you feel the most stressed, or maybe write down 3 for the week.
Okay.
Give me 3 days where you felt the most stressed and what you did to counteract it, the stress, and how you felt. Does that sound like something we can do for this week?
Sounds like a plan.
So that we can come back to the next session and see how or what we can do to either increase or decrease some of the actions or some of the things we talk about, and how we can kind of plan to work on them. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me? No?
Not today.
Okay, that's perfect. One last thing. I want to ask, in comparative to how we started off, I'm going to do another mood check. From a scale from 1 to 10, are you feeling a little bit better? Are you feeling the same? Are you feeling a little worse?
Oh no, I'm definitely better.
What's the number?
The number now, it's like 8 or 9.
Wow, that's significant.
It is. Sometimes just talking about it could be helpful. Laughing about certain situations and just reminiscing on how good you've had it. And those kind of things kind of like lighten the load and kind of like push all that stress or that, you know, you're not thinking about it as much.
Yeah, I'm glad that you saw it that way, and I'm really glad to have met you and gone through all this process with you today, and I'm really glad that you've already felt the impact.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting you, Denise, and I will see you next week.
Sounds good.